This is Felt Recoil.
Welcome to the Felt Recoil Podcast, episode number 41, which corresponds great with one of my favorite Dave Matthews songs. It's called Number 41. My name is Kris, and across from me is Patrick. With
the guy who doesn't care.
All right, good. Yeah, Dave's cool. I have a buddy who's still in radio, and he posted an interview this week, a video interview he did with this Ed. Is it Sheeran?
I don't know.
Sharon.
I keep hearing people talk about this guy, but I don't know who he is.
Sharan?
Couldn't tell you one thing he sings.
Samsonite. I was way off. I watched a few of the videos from the concert that he posted, and then I looked the guy up, and not really my style. I don't really get down. I never understood the loop pedals, and if you don't know what loop pedals are, that's where like a guitar player can play, a few measures of a song, and then a machine will loop that, and then they can play a solo over it or put a beatbox over it and create this whole thing. Anyway, the whole point is that's kind of what he does, it seems, and he kind of does this blend of acoustic and hip-hop music, and quite frankly, those two things are mutually exclusive. There's no need to bring them together.
I feel like loop pedals are for people that just don't have friends.
Sure, maybe. Probably. They have nothing better to do.
But I played in a band with other people, so there's that.
I see. Well, see, I tend to find more talent in a single musician with a single instrument telling a story. Not to be super melodramatic about it, but there's just something really charming about anybody, no matter who it is, being able to sit down. Adam Duritz from Counting Crows, when I saw the Counting Crows live in concert, I didn't enjoy the show, but there was like an hour, maybe 45 minutes, where it was just Adam and the piano. And he did a few songs, and I was hooked. I was like, okay, love it. It was great. So to me, that's just what I always tend to go to. I don't need all the effects. Anyway, he posted the video of him and Sheeran talking to each other, and I said, oh, that's obviously an incredible interview, but here's a few questions to ask next time. Question number 1, how long have you been playing guitar? Question number 2, how many Dave Matthews songs do you know? Question number 3, have you asked for a lesson from Dave now that you're a little bit famous? And then I had 10 questions that were all relative to, what's your favorite Dave song? What's your favorite Dave concert you've ever been to? How many Dave concerts have you been to? But anyway, all right, made me think of him. Anyway, episode 41, we will start, as always, with our charity of choice. But then we'll get into hands-on with the Glock Gen 5. We both got that experience. Not a lot else to be said about the flooding in Houston. We are a once-a-week program here, and I hate to inundate you with things you've already heard, but I do want to touch on the disingenuous, just kind of compassion that the media constantly perpetrates on people. If you think the media cares about you, they don't.
You're wrong.
We'll play some audio for you that made me just think about how really silly the media is as a whole. And then I took a Haley Strategic Partners D5 class. We'll talk a little bit about that in a segment called D5 Disappointment.
Womp, womp, womp.
It wasn't all bad, but it was rather lacking, to be quite honest. But we'll hit on it, and then I'll explain myself. Don't get too mad. We have proselytized for Mr. Haley many dozens of times on this program. If you're big of a fan as we are, then this is a little bit tough love, but he wasn't there. I'll have to explain all that in full detail. Circumstances out of his control kept him away. Don't worry. It's going to be a good time. We'll get to it. First, our charity of choice is Hidden Wounds. That's a nonprofit organization headquartered about 100 miles from where we record every week in Columbia, South Carolina. The mission there is to help heroes battle the invisible war at home and provide peace of mind and comfort for military personnel suffering combat stress injuries such as PTSD, TBI, and other psychological post-war challenges. They will provide interim and emergency psychological treatment for veterans and military personnel suffering from PTSD, TBI, and other psychological injuries. FeltRecoilShow.com/charities, or just hit up hiddenwounds.org. Hiddenwounds.org. Okay? All right. As always, either the government can decide how your tax money gets spent, or you can. That is a charitable write-off on your taxes, and the government will look like, hey, they gave $20, so they've already paid $20 in taxes. That's $20 less that they keep. Think of it that way. Makes it easier to give those guys some cash to keep doing what it is they do. Let's start with the Glock Gen 5. You've probably seen pictures online at this point. We got hands-on with it today at the gun shop, and This episode should be called The 5 Disappointments.
Let's call this episode Sad Horn.
Sad. If we had it, we'd play it. So, all right. I'll tell you what. I will go first because I actually like the Glock Gen 5. My problem with it is, as we've said on this program before, it's everything the summer Glock should have been. Meaning, we talked about the fact that you go to the NRA show and Glock's like, here's our summer special. It's got front side serrations. And to be fair to them, they were still battling with the MHS contract. They were still thinking they might have a shot at battling the Army. And if they were legitimately believing that, they need to wake up and smell the
$200 cigs.
Yeah, I was about to say, I was trying to find a clever way to say that. The low budget that the Army was willing to spend. But anyway, so we were expecting it then, didn't get it, and it's here now. So maybe there's a little bit of disappointment in the fact it took so long to get here, but it's here. It is essentially everything Glock should have been doing for the last few years. No grooves for your fingers, which I like because those are cumbersome and only in the way after you really get to shooting a gun for a while, in my opinion. The trigger is better. I just think it is. There seems to be a little bit of a different finish on the slide. Hopefully that's a good thing. But it feels a little bit lighter, as was pointed out. And I just feel like it sits better in the hand. It's a gun that if you're into stippling your own gun, you would buy it off the shelf, take it home, stipple it immediately, and you'd probably have a perfect gun. In my opinion, I love Glocks. They run hard. They run well. We'll come full circle when we talk about the D5 handgun class, what I learned about my Glock this week. But in my opinion, pretty positive. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'm going to give it a 7. I give it a 7, maybe a 6.5.
That's pretty generous.
I'll go 6.5. I give it 6.5. Mr. Hulon.
Well, it's a little bit of a letdown, I think. And I say that because there have been several pretty spectacular guns that have come to the market here in the last few months. The CZ P10C being one.
Yeah. And probably 509 others.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
That was going to be my next go-to because that's my new favorite gun is my FN 509, which I know you share the same affinity for.
I do.
And so some of the things that those guns have that the Gen 5 Glock doesn't have are things like front slide serrations. So if Glock thought it was such a swell idea to throw those on the Gen 4s,
right,
so that they could release something at NRA and not feel like they were completely left out, then why is that not good enough to put on the Gen 5? For a stock handgun, if they had put the Gen 5 out just like it is, plus this front slide serrations, that might be enough to tempt me to buy one. However, for me, I don't see enough of a difference to go out and pick one up. If because I end up stippling my guns anyway.
Right.
I can take the finger grooves off if I want and sort of play with the frame a little bit. But there are some changes. The trigger, a lot of people are commenting that it does feel a little bit better. I've heard some people say it feels exactly the same. So I guess that's just dependent on the user. I do think it's a little bit better. But they've changed the sear to something similar to the 42 and 43. So there's some internal changes. I think I read somewhere there's somewhere in the neighborhood of 25 or so changes from Gen 4 to Gen 5. There's a cutout in the front of the grip so you can rip the mag out if you were to have a double feed or something to that effect. They changed the magazine base plate so it actually protrudes a little bit more towards the front so you can grab it and pull down on it.
There's almost like an indentation for a thumb there.
Yep, exactly. Obviously, one of their biggest things is they added a slide release to the right side of the gun for the lefties. Shocking, I know.
Man, I don't know how they did it.
17% of the population is going to be really excited about that. The rest of us don't give a crap.
Sorry, Clay.
Yep. Sorry, dude. But so I think it just feels like they phoned it in. Like, so they listened to people about, okay, well, we don't really like the finger grooves. Okay, that's what everybody's preaching. So they took them off.
Why are you looking at me? Oh, yeah, because I just did. That's
Right.
Yes.
Well, and you're the only other person here.
Oh, okay.
That's why I'm always looking at you, just in case you're
I
wondering.
wondered. It always feels awkward for me, but now that I know, I'm a little bit better with it.
A couple other things they changed about this one. They changed the barrel. So previously, I don't know if you know this, but the previous models, there's a small gap between the chamber and where the rifling starts inside the barrel. Smooth gap.
Okay.
With this new, as they're calling it, quote unquote, marksman rifling or marksman barrel. The rifling goes all the way
on a Glock.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. The rifling goes all the way to the chamber.
I'm gonna reach it out to 150 yards now. Okay.
Right. I don't know whether this will have any effect on accuracy or not.
And what's the measurement?
I don't think they're. Well, I don't know because they're
eighth of an inch, quarter of an inch.
I mean, I think if I remember correctly, Glock barrels off the shelf are something like 4 MOA anyway. So they're not. I mean, they're not. It's not a rifle barrel. It's a Glock barrel.
Right.
So they're not claiming that it adds any real noticeable change in accuracy that I've noticed anywhere. Maybe it is. Maybe they are saying that. I just haven't read it.
You bring up an interesting point. We should put it next to a Zev barrel if you have access to one and see if they look right or if they look similar, because Zev's claim is that with a Zev slide and a Zev barrel on your Glock, you'll go from a 4 to a 1.
Yep.
At 25 yards.
That is what they say. And I've shot some Zevs, and they're very accurate. I don't know if they're, the price demands.
How's the average shooter really going to know? I mean, obviously, I don't think the average shooter spends twice as much on a slide and barrel that they do the whole gun.
Right.
So, what difference does that make to most of us?
Yep. So, I don't know. I mean, I don't think it's going to make that much difference. Glock is saying that these pistols are more reliable than the previous models, which I think is kind of funny because that's what they've.
I thought they were perfect.
They've already made. Well, yeah, perfection. Glock. So I just feel like they.
You feel like it's a 320 2.0?
No, I feel like Glock is pulling an Apple with the iPhone and they're playing it safe. So instead of really being innovative and sort of changing the game and coming out of the gate with something that nobody else has ever done before, they're gonna keep tweaking their stuff just a little bit, and they're gonna sell like crazy. Let's be honest. Just like iPhones, you tweak them a little bit and people lose their freaking mind over it and they gotta rush out and stand in line. I don't think anybody's gonna stand in line for a Gen 5 Glock, but I bet you they will sell.
So talk to me like I don't know what a sear is, since I don't, and explain to me what the improvement was between a Glock 19 and a Glock 43 on the way the sear works, and why would you suggest it was worth moving to in the new iteration?
Okay, so the sear is basically what pushes the striker to the rear and cocks the gun essentially, and then falls out of the way to allow the striker to move forward. Okay. So it sits down in the frame, pushes the striker, which is up in the slide back, and then drops out of the way and releases. So the gun will fire. Does that make sense?
Yep.
You look confused?
No.
All right.
So here's why I'm a little confused. I know I could point out a sear on a AR-15, and it's at the bottom of the trigger, right?
Yes.
Attached to the connector, the disconnector.
In front of it.
Right in front of it. The disconnector kind of sits in the groove of the sear, right?
Sits in the trigger. The trigger has a sear in the front of it.
All right. So on a Glock, it's up higher.
It's all the way at the back.
Okay.
So just over if you're right-handed, just over the web of your hand.
All right.
Okay.
I'm with you.
So why they changed it, I couldn't tell you. So if I look at a Glock 43 or 42, I assumed they made that change inside of that to accommodate for the smaller size. So that was my assumption when I first got my hands on those guns. So because the sears haven't really changed from Gen 1, 2, 3, and 4, small geometry things, but nothing drastic where we're actually looking at different parts. So now with the 42, 43, and now the Gen 5, they'll have a similar system. So the way the gun actually cocks and fires mimics one another from the 42, 43, and now Gen 5.
Okay.
Again, why they're doing that, I don't know. They're calling it an improvement in reliability. and to the naked eye, it probably doesn't look a whole lot different, but it is ever so slightly.
Okay, so maybe, I mean, is there something to be said where maybe they were? Is there any? Let me ask it this way: if the sear is improved, is there any improvement to trigger pull, pre-travel, reset, anything like that? I mean, pre-travel, it seems like it might accommodate a smoother break in the trigger. Yes, no? Maybe?
Yeah, so that may be why people are saying the trigger feels better.
Okay.
Again, it's to me maybe negligible. It's a little bit better, but I modify my Glock triggers anyway. So again, it's kind of like going back to the whole finger groove thing. It doesn't really matter to me because if I don't like them, I'll just chop them off.
Sure. Okay. Fair enough. All right, well, that's that. You can certainly find pictures of this stuff everywhere. You can find us at feltrecoilshow.com. Click over to the socials and grab some pictures of it there. Check it out for yourself. So there's flooding in Houston, all around Texas, just battered by Hurricane Harvey, now tropical storm. It's about to make another landfall. It did hit land, this morning in Louisiana. The storm is dumping heavy rainfall in areas that have been forced to evacuate. They're saying Houston will suffer almost $90 billion in damage. A veteran Houston police officer has drowned while trying to save people. A family of 6 killed Monday while trying to escape floodwaters. The van they were in was found late Wednesday by the Harris County Sheriff's Office. So it's just a tragedy all the way around. There's nothing really to say as per the flooding, as per the hurricane, because it's already been said. So I'm not going to bother repeating things you've already heard, but I am going to roll our VOTA of the week into the flood coverage, and it's going to go to the reporter from CNN who just, I mean, here's the thing. Let's just talk about the media for a quick second, shall we? The media does this thing where they have this disingenuous concern about people, and I would almost go so far as to say children, but I know I'm treading on dangerous ground there. Here's the deal. The media is always working. They're always on the clock. Members of the media are always being paid. So this idea that that the media is there because they're concerned for you is outrageous. It's kind of like very similar. I'm going to walk a really thin line here for a second. It's very similar to the radiothons and the people who do really, really good by hosting radiothons to raise money for cancer for kids. It's an extraordinary thing to dedicate your time to doing, and I commend everyone involved in those things. Except for those...
Good, because I thought you were about to take this south.
Meaning?
Well, you were about to say something like radiothons were terrible or something.
I've had cancer. I can badmouth anyone I want when it comes to this, okay? No, they're not a bad thing. They're incredibly good things. But here's what drives me up a wall is when I see the hosts who are being paid to be there talk about how much money they helped raise. You didn't do jack. You did your job. You showed up today and you did your job. You didn't do anything extra. You did your job. Did you spend 24 hours on the air? Then you did something extra. Kudos to you. I'm talking about the people who tend to show up, work a maybe 5-6 hour shift, holding a microphone, talking to some kids, and then they go home and they get on their social media and they go, man, great day raising all this money. Look at all the money we raised. Okay, that's fine. How much did you give? Okay? Intercom, how much are you matching on the donations people give to the radiothon? Okay? You should be, because it's a tax write-off. But I know what you're doing. I know the ploy. The ploy is you give them all this airtime, you run their commercials, you hold the radiothon, and then you bill them, quote-unquote, for the airtime, and you tell the IRS, we gave all of this airtime that would have cost them $100,000 to them for free, and so take that off our taxes. Is it a noble venture? Sure. Is it a smart thing to do? Absolutely. As a business, I would do it 100,000 times. I get it. What I don't like is this idea that I did something so extraordinary by doing
quick,
this. Yes.
How do we start our own radio station?
Don't. They're failing.
I want to start doing that.
No, they're failing. Don't do that.
Okay, well, how do we bill the IRS for services rendered.
Right. So here's how we do it. This is exactly our business model, actually. It's out there in public eye. If you go to feltrecoilshow.com and you shop our gear, we make it clear to you that a certain percentage of sales will go to charity. And that's a win-win because it encourages the consumer to do business with you as a business, and then it helps write off money on your taxes. I mean, I wouldn't ever try and hide that from anybody. I think it's a smart, savvy business practice. My overall point, though, is don't act like you're so benevolent because you chose to expose the loophole or this is what you're doing with your time. It's a very interesting thing for me because maybe I'm overly cynical, but to me, if you're doing good for the sake of doing good, you don't tell everybody about it.
No. You got to keep that Twitter popping.
Yeah, exactly. So it drives me crazy. So when I see a CNN reporter just absolutely berated by this woman, and to be fair, I do wonder. I guess maybe we should play it first. Who was? Let's see if I can get her name. Real Clear Politics here. We'll have it. You have a CNN woman. She's got a red jacket on. She has her hat. She's there. Her face is full of concern. She's patting the head of one of the children in the frame, and this mother is standing between her two children, and she's, what is this? Tell us all about it. But this woman was really having none of it. Well, they don't name her. Okay. All right, we'll just play the audio. Here's the woman who is named Danielle. How come Real Clear Politics is willing to give us the woman's name but not the reporter? All right, anyway. This woman tells CNN exactly how she feels about the fact that they're down there trying to interview people in what is most likely one of the most perilous times in their lives, and she's really not having it. If it'll play.
During their worst times, like that's not the smartest thing to do. Like people are really breaking down, and y'all sitting here with cameras and microphones trying to ask us what the fuck is wrong with us.
I'm so
and you really trying to understand with the microphone still in my face, with me shivering cold, with my kids wet, and you still putting the microphone in my face.
Sorry.
Rosa Flores.
And they go to commercial. Let's sounds like that lady's a little upset. Let's go pay some bills. To be fair to CNN and the poor reporter here, the woman could have very well said no. She wasn't down for doing interviews that day. But she just kind of goes crazy. And it highlights, a.k.a., by the way, quick aside, that's our vote of the week is this reporter. If you gave me the assignment, go down there and interview victims, I would just absolutely talk to someone for 5 to 10 minutes beforehand to make sure they had everything they needed. I wouldn't just, well, there you are, soaked and fresh out of the rain. Why don't you get you on live TV here?
Rosa Flores is her name, by the way.
Thank you. Probably couldn't find a more ill-advised move on the media's part there. But they do this thing where they go down, they act like they care. But really, at the end of the day, if they're not there, they're not paying their bills. So don't get caught up in the idea that they care about you. This is a disingenuous concern that they are constantly portraying on TV as if they really care. Don Lemon was all over Ferguson and Baltimore acting as if he cared about the plight of young black men around this country. But what was he doing on New Year's Eve? He got drunk and complained that he needed to find himself a boyfriend. That's all he had to do. Like, he doesn't really care. Is he out advocating for these people otherwise outside of his bully pulpit on CNN? Probably not. So it's a good time.
If there's race baiting to be done, he'll be there. But it's flooding in Texas, so he's nowhere to be found.
Of course, that's true. So it's a good time just to remember the media doesn't care. They don't care. They have an agenda. They're paying their bills. They don't care about the flood victims. I will say this. I will not lump Glenn Beck into this category because here's what Glenn Beck does. Glenn Beck has an entire arm of his company. Mercury One Radio Arts is his company, and Mercury One Relief, I think. All they do is raise money. And they go help these people, and I can assure you that he, if not already, is currently filling semis with food and water to send to these people.
It's awesome.
He just does it. He does it. And it's part of his faith. He is a Mormon. And part of their faith requirement is that you assist other people in their time of need. You stock up so that you can be charitable during someone's time of need. So I won't lump him in with that as much grief as we might give him about his melodrama.
And make sure you go check out that video on our Facebook page of the CNN reporter acting like a moron.
It is pretty good.
You need to see the video. You have to see it because the woman, she keeps saying, "You've got the microphone in my face." And so the reporter, Rosa Flores, sort of inches the mic away. And then, but the woman keeps talking, so then she keeps bringing it back. And it's sort of this odd, antagonizing, like she wants to cut the interview short because she knows it's
right
about to just implode, but she can't pull away. It's the ultimate,
it's power of
train
habit.
wreck.
It's power of habit, right? If you're a reporter and you're interviewing someone, when they speak, you put the microphone in their face.
Right.
And so she's just kind of reverting back to the cycle there. And, the cue? Okay, I'm cued. I'm cued. And she's just putting it right in the woman's face. And she can't break that habit quick enough to go, you know what, wait. OODA loop, if you will.
Right.
Just fresh out of the D5 class. OODA loop, observe it, orient yourself, decide, and act. She couldn't get out of her own way, but it is fun to watch. So yeah, Facebook.com/Felt Recoil Show. Okay, I have to talk with you about something. And
Talk to me, sir.
I gotta tell you, it makes me incredibly sad to even bring it up. All right, I don't want to be joking going in because I want to be real clear about something. It's no secret here that we idolize Travis Haley, correct? The large.
As I look at the large dragonfly on the wall.
I mean, I'm not going to get down into too much about the cost of things, but the framed dragonfly limited edition print that hangs on my wall over a D5 handgun graduation certificate was not cheap. But it's also something that, to me, holds a ton of value. So I want to preface very carefully here about my experience with the D5 handgun class from Haley Strategic. I can't decide if I would bring it up or not. I've been battling for almost a week now about whether or not we talk about it. But the conclusion I made was, I told you I was going. And if I avoid talking about it, I either seem forgetful or it seems like maybe I cover up in some way something I was unhappy about simply for the sake of the esteem in which I hold that company. I also live and breathe in an environment where you kind of want to hear if someone has a poor experience with you. But I don't feel like I had a poor experience with Haley Strategic. And I know that sounds crazy because then what are you crying about, baby boy? Well, it's kind of a lengthy story, but I'll tell it to you as quick as I can. And I want to not seem melodramatic when I tell you the things I'm going to tell you, but it might come across that way. Patrick, hopefully you'll vouch for me on a few certain things.
I'll try my best.
2 years ago, Patrick and I packed up in a car, 1,500 rounds of ammunition each, and drove 12 hours each way or 15? Was it 15?
I think it was 15.
15 hours each way from Greenville, South Carolina, down to Tulsa, Oklahoma. And we got all the way to Tulsa, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, had a life-changing experience.
I would agree.
I don't think I'm being, melodramatic to say that. The D5 handgun class I took in Tulsa, would you agree that you didn't come away just a better shooter, but a better person overall?
Yeah, absolutely.
And so here's the thing about the Haley class that we took in Tulsa. Probably 50% of it was in a classroom and 50% of it was on the range shooting. Right? 50-50?
Yeah, or maybe even slightly more in the classroom.
Yeah, I could see that. And some of that was because...
Maybe call it 60-40.
Here's my favorite memory from that is that Travis said at one point, you guys want to see the sling we're working on? And we go, yeah. And you remember?
Nah,
yeah.
no thanks.
Nah, man, you take your prototypes elsewhere. Haley, I got things to do. And if I recall, we spent a solid 20 to 30 minutes alone in a room with Travis and Nate. And Travis explained why his sling would work the way it would and what made it a better sling than other slings on the market. And when we left, I looked at you and I said, why did everybody else leave?
And he kind of gave us like a brief history of rifle slings, if you remember.
Little bit. I was more kind of like, I'd be honest, I'd be dishonest to not say I was a little starstruck. And it's hard to really focus and pull everything in when you're just trying to like absorb the moment. I remember standing there going, there's nobody else here. And we're getting like half an hour of conversation with this guy who is a living legend, who is a real American hero patriot that I think history will look fondly on. He told us a lot of stories. He did a lot of things. Now, one of the things I loved about it was this constant invocation to wake up every day feeling empty, to get your head out of yourself and realize that no matter how bad you may have it, somebody else is probably doing worse. So here's what happens. Travis tells us this story about, I think I can share this. I don't know, I feel weird sharing it because it's not my story, but I will tell you this. Travis tells a story about a guy he had to shoot. And if I recall correctly, he's essentially in a chair across from a guy also in a chair on the west coast of Africa at the time. And the guy went for a rifle. And he pulled the rifle up on Travis. And instinctively, Travis took note of the rifle, kicked the guy in the chest, pulled his 1911 and shot him. Right?
Yep.
Killed him. The nugget from that story is that Travis noticed that the safety was engaged on that AK-47. He wasn't likely to die. Who knows? Those aren't his words. That's my rendition here. And so he shoots the guy and then walks away with kind of this scar of maybe I didn't have to do that. Now, any other person, me, you, anyone else, would most likely say, what are you talking about? Dude grabs an AK. I'm not even looking at the safety. I'm going to go for my gun. I'm going to shoot the guy as quick as possible. What I was thinking
as he's telling the story. What do you mean?
Yeah.
He pointed at an AK at your face.
Kill him twice. But I've never been in that situation. I've never had to carry that burden, right? So Travis is dealing with this. He gives a speech at a conference, and it's one of many things, I would assume. I have no backing for this outside of the multiple stories he told. But he's dealing with these kind of things mentally, and he's giving speeches, and he meets a woman who comes up to him after one of these speeches and says to him, you've really changed the way I'm going to approach things. And he says, okay, and they have a conversation, and he says to her, what was the tragedy that put you where you are? Because she had, I guess, made it clear in the conversation, I've had things I'm dealing with mentally, I can't forgive myself for the things I've done. And he said, if you don't mind me asking, what are the things you've had to deal with? What was it? And she said, sure, a few years ago, I was leaving for work, I was backing out of my driveway, and I struck and killed my 6-year-old son. And Travis looked at us in the classroom and said, guys, what the hell are my problems? That's nothing I will ever have to deal with. Nothing. Hopefully, I never come close to that. That's a powerful moment for me. Powerful enough, and again, not trying to be melodramatic here, but powerful enough that it's been about 1.5 years ago when I was diagnosed with cancer, which sincerely happened to me. And the doctor had a very positive prognosis and outlook, and it was curable, and there was nothing to be concerned about. I was talking to my older sister on the phone, and she said, how are you? You're just making jokes. Like, it just seems like it doesn't affect you at all. Like, you have to have some concern at some point, right? Like, why are you so lighthearted about this, in a sense? And I said to her, what else can I do? There's nothing I can do to change this. But I also recognize that somebody out there right now is dealing with something I hope to never have to imagine dealing with. Like, and no offense if you have thyroid cancer right now and you think the world is over, but it's not a serious cancer. And so I look at people that have serious cancers and I think, man, that's tragic. You have something in your brain or whatever it is that you can't control that they have to go in and get, and your outlook might be grim. Or you're a parent who backs over and kills their child in the driveway on the way to work one day. There's no way to imagine what that feels like. So there's no room for me to get worked up about it. Would I have had that same perspective had I not taken the D5 handgun class? I probably would have been pretty lighthearted about it. But the point is, I wouldn't have had a solid foundation to reference. I wouldn't have had something to say, I remember this story. And I remember meeting this guy that I admired who shared this story. And that gave me that foundation. So that is a quick synopsis of what my initial D5 handgun class experience was like. So this week in Goldsboro, North Carolina, which is a nice little town from everything I could tell. There's an Air Force base there. We met again. Unfortunately, there were circumstances outside of Travis's control. We mentioned last week that his mother-in-law passed away. So Travis wasn't able to make the class. And the class continued, and the if you can't compare other instructors to Travis Haley, so it's certainly not a fair thing to do. Problem for me is I'd already taken the class, and I took it in Tulsa, Oklahoma at the United States Shooting Academy. So we were in a premier facility. So the standard had been set for me that this is what a Travis Haley class was like. This is what Haley Strategic, this is what they did. We showed up in Goldsboro, and his guys were pretty candid about, listen, this place doesn't meet our standards. We were kind of misled in some pictures they sent us here, but we're going to make do. And I mean, what do you do? It's $800 to take the class. You got $300 in hotel fees, $300 in ammo. I mean, you're in it, win it. At this point, you're there. You're committed. The instruction was fairly close to the same. There was no classroom environment, and you couldn't really see the PowerPoint and blah, blah, blah. So there were things that were kind of beyond their control, but then you do have to honestly say, well, wait a second, who vetted the range? Like, whose job was it to go and make sure that we weren't in Hickville, North Carolina, which we weren't, but the people running it pretty much were. 2 side notes. A, there was a CWP class on one of the days we were there in the bay next to us, but their bays were set up where there was one long bay, and that long bay backed up to a couple of side bays. So if we were at the end of our bay, we could look over and see what the other people were doing. And so we can see the CWP class. And I kid you not, that the instructors got out of their cars, put on body armor, and then covered up with fluorescent NRA RSO vests. And I about lost my mind. I loved it. I walked over to Ben, one of the instructors, and let me be real clear right now.
So you know they're official.
The instructors from Haley Strategic are world class. You will not find better instruction. It's not going to happen. I want to be really, really clear. That's why I think I'm spoiled. I won't take other classes. I don't know where else you improve. I would take a Vickers class just for the sake of him being Vickers. I would take a Pat McNamara class. Travis Haley would probably tell you go take every class you could. But for me, the foundation...
He does, in fact.
And the foundation of the science, the thinkers before shooters, the adaptability, the wake up feeling empty, those life lessons that apply to so much more are why I think Haley Strategic can charge the premium. It's unfortunate. I think some of those life lessons get lost in translation when Travis isn't there. So I don't know that anybody can do it as well as he does. But the instruction of the fundamentals of shooting are definitely there. They're superior to all else, in my opinion, and I would do it again. But these are the people whose range we're on. Like, these are employees of the range. They've been hanging out all week, and there they are now doing their CWP class. And I lost, so I go over to one of the instructors from our class, and I go, hey, man, is there a reason you guys aren't wearing body armor while we do this? And he didn't catch my sarcasm, because we don't know each other all that well. He just thought, well, here's some idiot asking a dumb question. And he goes,
you should be used to that response by now, Chris.
I come home to a family every night. He goes, well, sometimes we do. It just depends on the class, man. But, look, we keep an eye on you guys. We got, what? I go, no. I'm sorry.
You just peek around the berm over there.
I said, look right. So I go, yeah, well, the NRA RSOs over there are all wearing body armor. And he looks over, and he looks back at me, and he goes, you gotta be effing kidding me. I said, no, I'm not. Look, they're right there. So then a conversation occurred where, look at this class. You think these people are teaching their shooters to think before they shoot? Do you think they're explaining the why of why things happen like this? My overall takeaway was kind of twofold. I was troubled by the fact that HSP did a class at that facility because it was so
Are you going to tell us the name of the facility? Are you going to publicly shame them?
I don't know that I should. I mean, I already told you where we were.
The facility that has no running water, as you've told me offline.
And so, there's a couple other things. It was really like a 1-2-3 punch. You find out on Wednesday that your class that starts on Friday, Travis won't be there. And, it's one of those things where you're not going to be mad about it. You're still going to go to the class, right? I mean, you do pay the premium to train with Travis. You pay the premium price to learn from the Jedi Master, as it were. For a Star Wars reference, would I want Obi-Wan to be there to teach the class? Sure. Am I mad that it's Luke Skywalker? No, not really. I'm still happy to do it, but man, it'd been cool if Obi-Wan was there. But the problem was we're in the middle of that desert whatever place that Luke lived on in the movie, and you're surrounded by these people who, it seems to me, misled them about the environment. We're basically in a shed, and there were no tables and chairs for the students, and there were some folding chairs for about half the class, and then they brought in these like I don't know what you would call them. It looked like something you would see in gym class. It was like covered in rubber, and then maybe there was a foam in the middle, and when you sat on it, your butt went below your knees, and so you felt like a little kid, and you're looking up at the guys talking, and you're like, man, I feel silly.
Yeah, that sounds terrible.
But still, you're among these great shooters and this great instruction, and you're willing to kind of roll with the punches a little bit. But it was like a 1, 2, 3 is my point. So Travis isn't there. Then the facility is definitely subpar. And so then before lunchtime on day one, I go, hey, is there a water source around here somewhere, like a sink in a bathroom or anywhere I could refill my water bottle? Like, we don't know, man. So I walk all around this facility. Well, I spot this huge thing. It had to have been like 100 gallons something, and there's liquid in it. And I'm looking at it, and then I'm looking below it, and below it are all these random bottles filled with water. And I think, is that supposed to be like a water tank? Like, am I supposed to ask if I can fill my water bottle? But it was an opaque thing. Like, you ever seen like
it's a cistern?
Is it? I don't know. Maybe
I'm assuming it just catches rainwater.
Could be. It's more like, and maybe this is a cistern. You ever get behind the Terminex guy, and he's got that huge tank in the back of his truck that's filled with pesticide, and he just goes around and sprays, from his truck?
Yeah, I just hang my head out the window like Ace Ventura when I'm behind it.
Right. Like that thing, but full of water. So
what if it was all Terminex juice?
It probably could have been.
Did you drink it?
Judging the crowd. No. And what's funny is I went back and I was like, so I found that thing over there, and I point at it, and I go, you think that's water? And the guy that I was talking to goes, I mean, I'm not drinking it. All right, well, me neither. So went to Walmart that night and bought a bunch of just gallons of water and made it through the rest without issue. So that was kind of like, that's a 1, 2, 3, right? So no Travis. Classroom and the facility as a whole was subpar. Again, the bathrooms were either take about, I'll be real nice and say just under a quarter mile. Maybe. I don't know. I'm bad with distances sometimes. Felt like a trek. You're out in the sun, and you're moving and grooving, and then you have to walk all the way to the bathroom, or you pee on the berm, literally. So I go to the bathroom, and I'm like, well, it's basically a glorified outhouse, but the toilet flushes, which was nice, but there's still no sink. So I'm like, that's a little weird. That's just kind of like, if you can have a flushing toilet, you can have a sink, right? Same thing, I think. And so I go back and we train. Well, the facility provides your lunch every day, and that's told to you ahead of time. And so we're out there running a drill on day one, and I see them bring a box of something over, and then I watch a couple of guys make a plate. And I go, all right, well, I guess they're eating the food before we will, the food we paid for, but that's nice of them. Okay. And day two, same thing happened. And for some reason, man, day two, I saw the Firehouse Subs truck pull up. They laid out a spread, and I was like, oh, this is going to be a good lunch. And even the guy running the class was like, yeah, it's going to be delicious today. We got Firehouse Subs coming. And I'm like, yeah, man, I'm looking forward to some of that. I love some Firehouse. And then the locals started chomping on it, like 2 or 3 of them, and I about lost my mind, man. It took everything for me to not go over and be like, listen, I can put up with your crap facility, fat, you don't have running water, I get it. But now you are literally taking food off our plates. This is food we pay for, that we were told would be provided as per our fee for the class. I don't want to see your grubby little mitts all in the middle of my ham sandwich, okay? Get off my ham sandwich, and I get off of you. Got it? Good. Get your mullet back over underneath that tin roof over there that you've been sitting under all day, and leave us alone. It was just kind of like the culmination, and maybe I'm a hypocrite for telling you the story about the lady and her child and keeping perspective on your problems, but man, in the middle of it, I was like, I don't know, man. I felt like I paid a premium fee to watch some other dude eat my food. Like, I was super not happy. But, it's just one of those weird...
You got to keep perspective as per the story you gave earlier.
Sure.
But also, you do get to a breaking point, right? I mean,
well, I'll tell you, what you do is you start running numbers in your head. And what I did was I said, okay, $800 to take this class. How much of that went to this range? Because that's what I'd like to ask for back. Like, the instruction was there. The instructors are world-class guys. And I have no issue with them whatsoever. But the facility was terrible. And to be quite honest with you, I thought at some point they'd come around and say, all right, look, guys, this has just been an off week. Travis didn't make it. The facility is subpar. We're going to give you this code, and when you register for your next class with us, 25% off, something of that sort. And I wasn't the only one. I'm not going to throw anybody specific on the bus, because there was more than one other people. There were definitely constant conversations of, what do you think? You think they're going to offer us some money back, discount on this? But it just that. How do you bring that up? You know what I'm saying? You're on a higher echelon of people here. You hold them to a higher standard. So,
in all fairness, you text me about how subpar these facilities were, and I thought
day one,
I really thought, all right, Kris is just being a whiny little brat. Because we have been to the U.S. Shooting Sports Academy in Tulsa, which is probably, if I had to guess, one of the premier shooting facilities in the country.
By far.
It was unbelievable. A lot of amenities, nice pro shop, clean facilities, nice bathrooms, commercial kitchen, big classroom, lots and lots of shooting bays. And I think we've talked about on the show before, when we were there for D5 with Haley Strategic, Jerry Michalik and the whole gang from Three Gun Nation was at the other end of the facility for a televised event. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's a crazy, awesome facility.
Yeah.
Now, again, we have the good fortune to have some really nice shooting facilities around, I think.
Yeah.
Maybe not quite on par with U.S. Shooting Sports Academy, but nice nonetheless.
Right.
So I thought, okay, Kris is just being a brat.
And you know, one of the people we work with made that point. Like, maybe you're just spoiled, and maybe there's something to be said for that.
Okay, but that's what I thought. And then you sent me a picture.
Right.
And I thought, whoa.
Right. Yeah.
What is going on here?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
This looks like a place where you pull in and then you drive out very slowly and hope no one saw you.
To put it in even more perspective for you, to paint as vivid a picture as I can, I was following the GPS because we're in the middle of nowhere, right? And it says, in a half mile, arrive at destination on your right.
In a half mile, you will hear banjo music.
And listen, right after I hear that, I go, oh, look, there's a little dirt road right there. It'd be funny if I just turned on this dirt road. And then the dirt road started running parallel to the main road. And I go, well, I'll be if that's probably not the entrance to this place. No signage whatsoever. And then I watch, and sure enough, I start seeing these towers with American flags. And I go, okay, well, that's it. But obviously that was like a service entrance or something. No, that's the entrance. And so I had to U-turn it on this back road highway. The truck behind me actually just pulled off into the gravel and went around, but I'm in my Jetta, so that wasn't going to happen. I had to go up to a gas station, turn around, go all the way back, and then you're like, man, all right, bad juju right off the bat. But the guys at the facility were nice enough. I just think there's no way a Haley course happened at this facility without them misleading somewhat. They didn't really have proper bathrooms. And again, I get it if I'm going to train to be in the Marine Corps, I'm going to train to be in the Army. Hardships are a part of life. I get that. But this is a $1,600 investment when all is said and done. Like, this is why I sold 2 rifles to go. There are guys in the group making similar sacrifices just to go for the ability to train with these guys. And so any thorn that gets in the heel throughout this and is followed by 1, 2, and 3 more, it just starts to add up a little bit. And it was candidly, it was disappointing as a whole experience. For the big point I would make is that my dad had hinted, how much is it? When is it? You really think it's worth the money? And I was on and on and on and on and on and on. Yes, you should go. Yes, you should go. And I am so incredibly glad he did not go, because I would feel obligated to him now. I would feel like, how do I make that monetary loss back up to you? Because it would have been miserable. It would have been miserable for him. Miserable. Any guy that's not a career military law enforcement guy, which I know a lot of the guys in the class are, I can see it being kind of like a, man, what are we doing out here? But the Tulsa experience, I'd have paid double. I'm going to be real clear. The Tulsa experience that we got, shooting at the academy, the food actually being on point every day, us having our private space with multiple bathrooms and clean water access, I'd have paid twice the cost. And I would have driven twice as far. No problem. No questions asked. In fact, I can tell you 100% accurately, as soon as we left from Tulsa, we said, I'd have paid more. I'd have paid more for that, and I would do it again tomorrow. And I immediately started saying, when can I do it again? When can I do it again? When can I do it again? And 2 more kids later and a couple years wait, and selling a couple of rifles, I went and did it again. And the lesson learned is not that Haley Strategic is subpar, because I don't think they are. I think there's some oversight here. I think they would benefit from having someone on hand check these facilities out and say, are we providing a $1,600 experience to these people? And I know only half of that is for the class, but there is a recognition of your obligation when you consider travel, lodging, food, ammunition. Okay? Reached a point where that's where my brain was. How much of this money am I spending that the range is getting? Because I want that money back. Because it's not fair to charge me a premium price to shoot here. This facility is terrible. It's terrible, and it's terrible.
Well, if you recall, when we were in U.S. Shooting Sports Academy, there was a range fee on top of the classroom fee.
$50.
$50. And
total, not per day, total.
Right. So per person. And what that did was help offset the cost of the meals. Mm-hmm. And then that was also your a day of range use.
Yeah.
That they charge anybody that walks onto the facility.
Yeah.
And again, I can't say enough nice things about that place. So I was curious, when you were in North Carolina, they didn't make you pay a range fee, I'm assuming, right?
No, and I would not have. They would have been hard pressed to have walked into the room with all 19 guys in there and go, okay, listen, guys, so we're going to need $50 per person for range fees each day. And sincerely, I know it sounds like you're being dramatic. That may have very well been the straw that broke my back. I probably would have been like, you know what? All due respect, no way. No way. You eat it. No way. You made the choice to come here and host the class here, but they didn't do it. So that's, creating
I don't know why they would need it.
Exist.
I mean, it's not like they're late on the water bill.
Right. or electricity. We were in there trying to make electricity work, and the electricity kept going out. So we'd be in the middle of a lecture of some sort, and the computer would just shut off. And then it would take 5-6 minutes. We'd take these breaks so they could get everything working again. Again, mostly out of their control, but also an oversight issue. So, I felt compelled to share it just for the sake of being honest and forthright, not to bash Haley Strategic. You will not find better instruction anywhere. I hope I've said that enough times. It really, truly changed my life to take the D5 handgun class in Tulsa. My advice would be, if you start to consider doing their course, twofold. Honestly, and this might sound mean, I would make sure Travis runs the class. Because the life-changing aspect for me came from Travis. That's all I'm saying. His outlook, his mindset, his thought approach to everything is what had such a huge impact on me 2 years ago. And I'm not saying that, he changed everything about me, but I am saying that the man changed the way I approach a heck of a lot of the things I do in life. So that's worth the money and then some. And then, number 2, I would make sure that the facility is up to par. And I would research it. I would call them. I would ask for details about the range. And then I would drop the money necessary to take the class, as long as it meets your standards. If you're down, look, had I known that there'd be no water, and to be, I guess I should definitely point this out. We were told, bring a cooler and pack your food and pack in water. Okay, that was in the initial email. For some reason, I took that as, if you want to, it was highly advised to bring a cooler and water.
Again, expectations have been set due to previous experiences.
Right. I couldn't have imagined. They would have had to have said to me specifically, there will be no bathrooms, no running water. We will be outside all day. Bring everything for yourself. And I'll tell you this, I'd have still done it. Had I known that was the case, I'd have still taken the class. I would have been prepared mentally. I went in prepared for another Tulsa, and I didn't get another Tulsa. Tulsa was worth my money and then some. Was Goldsboro? Probably not. Probably not. If I could have the money I dropped on all that back, I'd probably take it. I don't want it. I'm not saying that so HSP offers me anything. I won't take anything from Haley Strategic, just for the record. This is me getting my money back, as it were. I'm not trying to get back at anybody, but this is my therapy. Because, again, as we talked about earlier, we're in a retail space, right? And if someone walks into the retail store we work at and has a poor experience, we would rather hear about it than not have that person come back. And I'm not arrogant enough to think anybody from Haley Strategic will hear this, but in case they do, that's somewhat my justification. I feel like it's only fair to say it, right? But what I don't want is to come across as demanding everything returned. I just, as someone who loves the brand, who sincerely proselytizes people, takes it out and says to people, this class will change your life, it's just an honest feedback and a little bit of a critique, because I think we could have done better on the facility. I think we needed, look, bottom line, you need a classroom. Half of what Haley gives you is the classroom experience. Focus more on that. Just make the classroom experience a proper classroom experience. Give me a place where I can feel comfortable so that I can learn. Because that's what I'm there to do. And you can't learn if you're not comfortable. It's just the way things are. We talked the other day about the way you dress is the way you act, right? You dress the way you expect yourself to dress, and that reflects in your actions. And then whether you believe it's true or not, try it. Get up tomorrow and wear a suit and see if you don't feel more pride in yourself, which doesn't, make you treat people differently and carry yourself differently and have more pride in what you do. Put on your baggy shorts and a junky t-shirt and go to the store and see how much you want to walk up to girls you don't know and say hello. That's just the way life works. It's same in your environment. If you're in a rundown environment, you feel a little run down. And I think if you're paying a premium to go to things like this, I think a premium environment is necessary. And again, also because I'm learning. I'm there to learn.
So to bring it full circle, my question to you would be, are you going to go to another class?
Oh.
So this didn't sour it for you?
No, 100%. I'll go again. I want to do the D5 carbine, and I want to do a D3 handgun. I want to do a higher level of everything. I'm 100% committed to Haley Strategic. Again, I hope that's the clear thing here is I don't think you'll find better instruction. Go out and seek it, but I would feel like, and we talked about this actually with the guys from the class, we kind of had a couple of down minutes, and I said, the thing for me is, I look at other classes that are $400 and $500, and I think to myself, well, you're halfway to a Haley Strategic class. So put that aside and just wait till you have the 800 and go take their class. And I would do it again. I will do another Haley Strategic class. I would not do this one again, and only because of purely extenuating circumstances that nobody could control. And again, to beat the dead horse, not on Haley Strategic as much as on the range, but also a bit of disappointment that they would allow that range to host them. That range was below Haley Strategic. Haley Strategic needs to realize that they are cream of the crop, and their ranges that they train at should reflect that. There should be high demands, and I think the classes would only get bigger. They talked about they want to reach a point where Travis isn't at every class because they have so many classes running. If you're going to do that, it's not going to happen at those facilities. That's just straight fact, I think. It's not going to happen at that facility. Had Travis not been at Tulsa and we'd had the same crew training us in Tulsa, I promise you we'd have walked away just as happy. Promise. But the mix of Travis not being there, the facility being terrible, and everything else, it was just kind of like, man, this is bad. It was bad. But good instruction. I'll tell you, you will learn more in a 3-day Haley Strategic class than I think you would traveling once a month and learning from a bunch of different people.
No, you should go to college and spend $100,000.
Oh, well then, there you have it.
Wait a second.
Did I miss anything, Hulan?
Not that I'm aware of.
All right. Please don't forget hiddenwounds.org. That's our charity of choice this week. Find us on the web at feltrecoilshow.com. Don't miss us there. Follow us on all the socials as well. Our vote of the week, what's her name again? Rosa Sanchez something?
Something like that. Yeah, sure. Why not?
CNN reporter putting the microphone in a flood victim's face while the water is still rising outside. What a bunch of morons. Don't trust the media. All right. Please remember, we love the Haley Strategic. Can I just say real quick, that was kind of half of my hesitation is, you're in this weird position where we're doing this, humble little podcast, and we love doing the podcast, but it kind of requires building relationships with some of these people, and you don't want to burn that bridge. And I certainly hope I didn't. But if you burn a bridge by being honest with somebody, it's probably not a bridge worth having.
If you did, it's your fault. I still love those guys. And,
I would never say it. No, you know what? The fact of the matter is, I think Travis is the type of guy, if he ever did hear it, he'd be like, well, damn, just say it to my face next time. And then I can kill you. All right. We'll see you next time for the Felt Recoil podcast. It'll be episode number 42. And go look up Dave Matthews Band number 41. I promise. Great song. Great song.
I believe you.
Bye. Bye.